The Warlock Renault is defeated, and the battle at Hollow Mountain is ended. But at what cost? The war may be over, but now only 3 Lightbringers remain to pick up the pieces.
Hey everyone, welcome to Worlds Apart. This is a D&D adventure show that my friends play using 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Right here on my left is Gwyn. She is playing the Tiefling Celestial Warlock. I almost said Sorcerer, like you did in our pilot. The Tiefling Celestial Warlock ASTRID. On her left is Hannah, who is playing the Barbarian of the Valashi Desert, Mara, and chieftain of the Skycaller people. And on her left is CEDRIC playing ZEPHYR, an elf paladin of Kieva, the goddess of nature. Previously on Worlds Apart, the Lightbringers arrived in Omavel, the capital city of the Republic of Auredane. And after exploring just a tiny corner of one of its many busy marketplaces, you made your way to the Temple of the Six Gods to speak with Ashval Marin, the High Priest, and get his guidance on where to go next, what your next lead was. Along the way, you encountered an eccentric gnome by the name of Wibrigdeen, an associate of the Wayfarers Guild, and he gave you an enchanted brass talisman in the shape of a compass. And this little talisman always seems to swivel in the palm of your hand, pointing constantly to the nearest Wayfarers Guild Hall. Moving on, within the Temple of the Six Gods, you met Latara, the Temple Cat, a wise and powerful celestial feline that keeps safe the temple from intruders with the aid of the more powerful and perhaps less intelligent temple dogs, stone angels that are placed upon the steps of the temple to physically bar intruders from entering. You helped Latara with a small crisis down in the temple catacombs, and then she brought you before Ashval and Gaia Stella Maren. Ashval being not just the High Priest of the Six Gods, but the Oracle of the goddess Estera, and his sister Gaia Stella being a paladin in that same goddess's service. With them, you discussed your next move, and ultimately decided to travel to the Nortok Steppe, a bleak and desolate northern land, to confront one of Renault's remaining lieutenants. This being is known only as the Fallen Star. ZEPHYR, you suspected that the Fallen Star was the leader of a heretical cult of Elo, the North Star god, known as the Godsworn, who has not only harried you and Saranon over the past several years, but nearly killed the 3 of you near the outskirts of Omavel. With this destination in mind, you, the 3 Lightbringers, left the temple with the blessings of the gods upon you and decided to retire to the Velvet Glove Inn, a local high-end hotel and bar. So you enter the Velvet Glove, and the first thing you are greeted by is the powerful scent of lavender perfume that just enshrouds your senses. And as you sort of cough through this cloud of incense and perfume, you notice that the bottom floor of this establishment is filled with well-dressed guests, in sharp contrast with your dust-covered traveling clothes. There are probably about 20 people in this downstairs. This downstairs is a bar and a reception area. People are drinking and talking, sitting by a fireplace, cooling their heels. And so far, no one has taken any notice of you. So you're all standing in the doorway. What do you do?
Astrid looks around and kind of like clocks the other guests and is like kind of shrinks into the shadows a little bit. She's like, we look like crap.
Mara was kind of waiting for Astrid to to do something since I don't think Mara's ever stayed in an inn before.
Oh, that's true. Astrid
Yeah,
definitely would have on some
she
of her
doesn't know how
travels.
these places work. She's heard they have baths though, and that those are pretty nice. I guess is there someone who looks like they're in charge or that they own the place?
Yeah, there is a well-dressed man in a sharp suit with a very thin mustache, sort of light brown skin and slicked back black hair, who is standing in the center of this main room, almost directing traffic like a cop at a intersection. He's showing people where to go. He's gesturing up staircases. He's pointing people towards the bar. He seems to be embroiled in the chaos of this place.
The very elegant, well-dressed chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I think Astrid would probably pick up on Mara's like confusion here.
Kind of a deer in the headlights moment.
Yeah. She straightens up and walks to the front desk, and clears her throat. Excuse me?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hi, could we get some rooms, please?
Absolutely. We have several rooms available at the moment, and Mara, you're distinctly aware that you have rooms booked for you.
Oh, do we?
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
So I'm Astrid's shadow right now, kind of lending her presence a little extra height. And Ashvel booked us rooms.
That's right. Okay, then I guess we need to check in.
Oh, very good. Under what name would this reservation be?
Do you have an Astrid Sunglow on that list?
Astrid. He flips through his ledger. No, I'm afraid no Astrid Sunglow.
What about Lightbringers, Party of 3?
Lightbringers, party
That's
of
really
three.
fun to take inspiration. And he looks through and says, Lightbringers, no last name given. Yes, that's 3 rooms for 3 people.
Wonderful.
Some of our finest rooms, too. In fact, they're all connected to the bath suite. And he
Mara thinks that that's something you eat while taking a bath.
and he looks at Mara and back at Astrid and looks down and coughs a little bit.
Yes, we need baths, I'm very aware.
Oh, what? No, you are a welcome guest. I didn't say anything.
Surely. Could you direct us to our rooms, please?
It would be my pleasure. And he stands up from the desk and he snaps his fingers and gestures for someone to take over the desk while he is doing his business. An older woman with silvery hair comes over. And he says, come. And he goes down a hallway. I assume you follow.
Yes.
And he begins to wind up a staircase. Like I said at the end of last game, I know it's been a little while, but this is a big hotel. It's 5 stories, and
wow.
despite that, it has a pretty impressive footprint, horizontally on the cityscape as well. So you go down this long hall, and you go up a staircase, and you wind around for a little bit until you get to the 3rd floor, and he eventually brings you to the end of a hallway. And there are 3 rooms, one on the left, one at the direct end of the hallway and one on the right. And he says, these 3 rooms are yours to fight over, and they all connect farther back in the bath suite. He looks at you for a moment. He pauses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is
And
he,
he,
like, being actually nice and welcoming and he's just a little weird, or is he, like, being...
Super passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Astrid, make an insight check. Zephyr, how much time have you spent in civilization?
Non-nat 20.
Not nearly as much as Astrid.
Make an insight check with disadvantage. I don't think Mara gets to make this check at all.
How many times has Mara dealt with customer service? Just Tico.
I mean...
Oh, a 9.
Mm-hmm. So Astrid, you notice that him holding out his hand and staring silently for a moment is a cue to tip him.
She goes, and drops. Astrid does not understand money. She's a big dumbass.
Grew up in a cave.
Yeah. She just plinks 3 gold into his hand.
Okay. And he gets the bills between his fingers. He looks it over and he flashes you this big white tooth smile and says, and he dips low and says, "Thank you very much. Enjoy your stay at the Velvet Glove. Just ring the bell if you need anything. We have a whole suite of bells downstairs connected to your ropes."
Many thanks.
Good evening. And he walks down the hall.
I really
whistling a
wanted
tune.
to do enjoy your stay, YouTube it. But Astrid's charisma is definitely too high for that.
I don't like him.
He seems... Was that a bribe?
No, it's a tip.
A tip?
Like when people do a service for you, you give them a little extra because they did a good job.
All right. Is that expected here?
I've only seen it in big cities. I think that's what Mama would have done.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes, Astrid is a grown-ass woman who calls her mother Mama.
Hmm.
So am I. But
And, I forgot to mention this, but as he left, he gave 3 room keys to Astrid.
all right, let's check them out.
Right. I'll take one of the keys and unlock the middle room.
Okay. You flip through the 3 keys until you find the right one, and you unlock the door, and you pull it open, and it is a luxurious suite inside. There's this big 4-poster bed, easily enough to fit 2 people, or 1 Mara spread out. And there is a little mini bar. Is
there a little note on the mini bar that says you'll be charged for
Oh,
everything
yeah.
you take?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Oh yeah. And like it's stocked with little liquor bottles. It
Mixed
has
nuts for 10 gold.
Well, yeah. There's one of those little delicate glass things,
Decanter?
right? What? No.
Oh.
No,
Like a
like
nut
those
bowl.
glass
Okay.
bowls, right?
Yeah.
And it has this glass lid on top, right? Because there's not like plastic sealed here.
Is there an enchantment on it so they'll know when you
yeah,
open it?
it's a permanent freshness enchantment too.
But also an alarm spell.
So they can notice as soon as you open it.
Sweet
Even if you
goodies,
eat none of
opening
them,
the
they'll
nuts.
know.
I think I heard someone offset laugh when I said nut bowl. So
My next character will be a hotelamancer.
Hotelamancer. And in
Not
addition
a
to all of that,
necromancer?
there's a big mirror, this full body mirror that takes up quite a bit of space on one of the walls. And at the very far end, there is another door, which has a little... actually, no window on this one. There is another door at the far end made of wood.
Astrid peers not over Mara's shoulder, but behind Mara's shoulder like this, because she can't stand that tall. She's
Right.
It's Astrid on one side and Zephyr on the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Sort of Scooby-Doo out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would look over, but I don't think either of us are
No.
tall enough for that.
And Astrid just goes, "Ooh, fancy."
does the 4-poster bed, it has like curtains and things.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That almost reminds Mara of her tents.
Oh, and all of the primary color of this establishment is this lavender purple. So all of the curtains and stuff is this thin, semi-translucent purple film, basically.
Like a muslin or something.
Yeah.
Are our 3 rooms connected, or are they all separate?
So there's only one door out of this room, and as far as you can tell, it doesn't connect into the other rooms on the sides.
Okay. I want to go see if the other rooms are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you head out and you take another key and you try the doors until it works. And you find yourself in the room on the right side of the hallway. And you go in, and it's very similar, right? It's Mara went into the center room, so it's a bit more symmetrical. But this room has all the same amenities. It's got that big bed, the mini bar, the wardrobe, and mirror. And just like the other one, it does have another hardwood door on the far end of the room. There's a little safe also.
Oh, then I'll take the other side.
Cool.
Astrid goes to the right-hand side room.
Oh, and there's also a small washroom inside the main room also. Little place to not a toilet. There is an outhouse for that outside, but a little wash basin for your face and stuff.
I'm gonna check out these baths I've heard so much
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gonna check that other door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you explore through your room and you each make your way to the door on the far end, and you open the door and emerge into this beautiful white room, white tiles. There is a glass skylight instead of a solid roof, so the sunset that is now passing over Omavel and that omnipresent glow of the star spire filters into this room.
Is this a magic window? Because we were on the 3rd out of 5th floor.
That's an interesting question.
Hmm.
And over underneath this interesting, unusual ceiling, more of those draperies are coloring the lights many different colors as they pass down. And here on the floor, there is this deep bath. It's about 10 feet long and 4 feet wide, and there are brass taps. There's 5 of them stationed around sides of this big tub. The whole room is just shiny.
Do the taps do different things, or are they all just...
You want to test them?
Astrid turns all of them.
You turn on one, and there's a little rumble underneath your hand, and then whoosh, a huge stream of steaming hot water sprays into the bath, and you hear a little click as the plug of the tub automatically clicks shut. And this seems to be a pretty normal tap, but as you begin turning more and more of them on, there does seem to be a sort of aromatic scent to some of these other waters, a little light perfume in the stream.
Are there bubbles?
The 5th tap produces this huge stream of bubbling water, of sudsy bubble bath.
Astrid is so stoked right now.
Yeah, Mara just sets down her pack, rolls her shoulders, and strips down to her underclothes to get in the bath.
Yeah.
Sploosh.
So, is this a single person tub?
No, it is huge. It's like 10 feet wide and 4
okay.
feet.
It's a small pool.
Yeah, it's a small pool is what it is.
'Cause sunset bath sounds like a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Astrid like whips off all her clothes.
Yeah.
She leaves on like a little slip for modesty.
Got it.
She doesn't need to show everybody her titties.
Zephyr
could.
takes everything off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is modesty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
So, yeah.
No, Zephyr wouldn't really have any concept of that.
This is something
Maybe
Astrid
from living with
has
the
learned.
Cerons, like that humans or orcs have that, but
Maybe,
it's
and
not.
some people in the temple too, but
Yeah, no, this is something Astrid has learned from experience.
I'm getting a big ol' no from Jenna off screen. No sense of modesty. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Missed that.
Oh.
No.
Oh yeah, no, they were
Oh,
in prison
yeah,
clothes
that's
and had to change
right.
it. Anyway,
Oh, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah. No, the orcs have none of that.
yeah. So wild boy Zephyr just gets naked, and into the bath it goes. Into the bath you all go.
Astrid just like sinks, so all you can really see are her horns.
This is an.
Mara makes sure that like she comes up for air every so often.
She's not a water genasi. She
Yeah.
can't breathe down there. After everything you've been through, you can feel just weeks of muscle tension unraveling in this water. Even though boiling water seemed to have burst from the pipes, it is this perfect temperature. And interestingly enough, it's perfect for all of you, even for Astrid, who is super resistant to the heat. It's just perfect for all of you.
She
So-
pokes her head out, and her skin's like even pinker.
Uh,
In part because of the hot water, and in part because of all of the grime that just.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a thin film of like gray and brown that just slides off of everyone.
So for a brief moment, Zephyr jumps out and back to their pack, and grabs a little vial of holy water, and basically casts bless
Oh.
on the tub.
Oh,
Technically, it's supposed to be people, but sort of on our whole tub.
yeah, yeah.
And it really doesn't do much mechanically or anything, but it
It gives you a good feeling.
it's just
It
an
gives
even
us
nicer
success
bath.
on our
Mhm.
checks to wash all the grime off.
A soft glow surrounds the water.
Yeah,
I have a
it's-
quick question for you three. When you strip down to go into the bath, do you leave your holy symbols on?
Oh.
Oh.
Probably not.
I think so. I think I look at it and it's still glowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I don't want to take it off. It's what's connecting us to it's what's connecting me to Tico and us to our friends.
Okay, so you're gonna leave it on, Mara.
Yeah.
What's how about you, Zephyr?
Well, so Zephyr really tore off their clothes and armor,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would have been down to just the holy symbol.
Cool.
And I think after a moment they would still take it off.
Okay, so
But-
there's a lingering moment.
The only lingering moment in that whole scene is this, like, oh. And they would very gingerly take it off.
Okay.
Does it still glow after it's taken off?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you set it down, and you were gonna take it off also.
Yeah, like Astrid also like just flung all her clothes off, but when she got to the pendant, she took it off and like neatly set it on top of her dress.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
After she gets in the bath, Mara will unbraid her hair, or the braids in her hair, and take some of the trinkets and stuff out and set them by there so she can wash her hair.
Cool.
Astrid unties her double buns and just has like a big, like fluffy afro.
It's
Mhm.
oh, I was gonna say it was like extra horns, like the curls.
You soak in this bath for quite some time. And it really is a rejuvenating and refreshing experience. I'm going to toss inspiration to Mara also
Thank
for
you.
a good bath.
A blessed bath.
A blessed bath.
Once we're out of the bath, I'm gonna wash my clothes.
Yeah. that
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
So you relax in the bath and you all begin to get out when you're done. And Astrid, I'd like you to make a perception check.
18?
18. Yeah, you're getting out of the bath, and you're like wringing out that slip you were wearing, just sort of wringing the water back in. And actually, as you get out, you hear the latch on the bottom of the tub go click click, and the water begins to drain
Can
out.
I manually click it back because I want to wash my clothes?
Yeah, sure. You can
Okay.
go.
Or maybe I'll get some clean water in there, but
There are small washrooms
Okay.
in your hotel rooms. You hear a whispering voice coming from somewhere in the room. And it sounds familiar, but you can't place it.
Astrid's ears prick up. And she kind of like follows the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Should I roll like investigation? Or
Yeah,
what?
make an investigation check as you sort of this whispering noise is continuing.
That one. She
Yeah.
slips on the tile.
Woo. Yeah, so you're looking around. You're trying to get kind of low to the ground to search around for this thing, and your foot slips on a patch of wet floor, and you tumble to the ground. There's a
Astrid,
bump.
you okay?
She stands up and she like kind of rubs her backside. She goes, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just slipped. With my +3 dex, I slipped."
The voice has stopped, but you did hear it say your name.
I'm gonna do an Arcana check and see if it's some kind of magic.
Sure.
11.
You can't see anywhere that a voice could be coming from in this room. If it is magic, there are types of magic, divination spells, that could cause, that could allow other people to communicate with you. But if such a thing were happening, they'd probably be communicating directly into your mind, not sort of whispering throughout a room. Does it seem weird to any of you that Astrid is kind of like looking around, his eyes
squirrely.
wide, and is searching
I'll
for
roll
something?
a perception check to see if I
Yeah.
notice while I'm washing my clothes. Yeah, that's a 23.
Zephyr chalks it up to just looking around the room and being fascinated by the hotel. They do not pay attention to that. It's not the same kind of... I didn't roll very well.
Cool.
I'm wringing out my tunic and even kind of like wiping down my belt and the leather of my backpack and stuff like that because that is dusty. And I notice Astrid kind of like listening for something. Astrid?
No, it's nothing. I guess I'm just tired.
I trust your instincts. They were right before.
I thought I heard my name. I thought I heard a whisper, and I know the voice, but I can't remember who it is.
Can I make a perception check and see if I hear anything?
Sure.
That's a 22.
You don't hear anything. And you didn't hear anything either.
Could it be your patron, your angel?
He mostly talks to me in dreams. And
Make a religion check.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also my patron would be speaking to me in Celestial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was I hearing Common?
Yes. Well, you weren't really sure what you were hearing.
I think you need to put that die in dice jail.
Can I roll again?
You have inspiration if you want to spend it.
An ability check? Not really. Also, why do I have +1 to religion? Why is Astrid a dumbass?
Because you never studied religion formally,
That's
right?
true. That's true. She just knows and understands Elo. Yeah, no, Astrid is stumped.
What was your roll?
2 for a total of 3.
Well, you're aware enough that it was not speaking to you in Celestial. You would have recognized that, and it's not speaking to you in the way your patron usually does.
Right.
So whatever this mysterious voice was, it's not the usual mysterious voice. And that's
It's
about all you know.
More mysteriouser voice.
Astrid like rubs her ears, and like strains and listens again.
Okay. Want to roll a perception one more time?
This better frickin' work. That's good. 19.
On one hand, the voice is not speaking anymore. Yeah. Wherever that sound was coming from, it's not happening anymore. Can't really trace where it came from.
There are no windows in here other than the skylight?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, no. There's a window on the far end, glass window, looks out onto the street.
Okay.
You can pop it open. The room is pretty steamy right
Yeah,
now.
I would definitely like to get some fresh air.
Yeah, so you pop it open, and there's this blast of cool, dry air as the desert evening begins to set in.
I'll take a peek out on the street, see if there's anyone hanging around or anyone who that Astrid might have heard?
Sure, roll perception.
I'm just going down one every time. That's a 21.
You spot no one like looking at the building. There's plenty of people passing by, plenty of people making their way into the lobby on the bottom floor, but no one is like beneath the window, Romeo and Julieting in this bathroom. And you look up, there's no one on the walls or anything like that. Seems as though outside was not the source.
I'm gonna finish rinsing out my clothes and start mending some of the tears in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Anything else you guys want to do in the evening, or shall we roll on through it?
Astrid's
Zephyr?
just gonna get her clothes laundered. She
Okay.
finds a fluffy pink bathrobe in the
Ring a little
wardrobe.
bell.
Zephyr goes back to their room and does not see the warning next to the snacks.
Oh.
I rolled perception for it. And even with a +4, that means it's a 6.
Oh no.
So
It's easy to miss.
Yeah, they snack on some of the nuts, and there's some nice dried fruits that are especially alluring.
Mm-hmm.
They don't drink anything, but they definitely try a bunch of different snacks. So, yeah,
Is there room
maybe
service?
Asheville Marin will take care of that.
Will Asheville pick up the tab? Good question.
We'll
We'll
find
find out
out in
tomorrow.
next episode. Yeah.
The important questions.
All right, great. Anything else, or will
Are
this
the-
evening pass?
Are the beds really soft, or are they how firm are the beds?
I'm
Their
not going to
magic
have.
What's their sleep
numbers.
number?
I'm not going to have the first roll of these special dice to be how soft the beds are.
I'm just trying to determine if Mara is comfortable because it's a 4-poster bed with fabric around it. It reminds her of home, or if she's uncomfortable because it's so much softer than anything she's used to.
So I would say that for Astrid, the softness of this bed is quite luxurious. But for Mara, and to a lesser extent Zephyr, you just kind of sink into this bed. It's like, oh, what the heck?
Zephyr would have tried to do their meditation on the bed, and would take a nice sitting posture, and then sort of went, like, okay, maybe fell backwards into it after that. and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotta do
Astrid
that
takes
somewhere
a
else.
running leap into the bed and just kind of rolls around.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It catches you, boing, and you bounce a little bit, and you fall, and it's a delight. It's a fuzzy, fluffy dream. And night comes. Zephyr does their meditation. Mara and Astrid get some sleep. Mara takes a little while to get comfortable in this bed.
Yeah, I might just drag some pillows onto the floor. That's kind of what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a shame to not use the bed, but there's just a point at which it's too soft.
Yeah. Morning comes, and in this room, which is not outside facing, Mara, you're a little disoriented because there's no sunlight streaming in. But what wakes you up is actually a knock at the door. Tuck, 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 tuck.
I go to the door. Is there any sort of peephole or latch or something?
Mm-hmm. There's a
I'm probably
latch and
familiar
a
with these
peephole.
things. I will look through the peephole.
You look through, and it is it looks to be an elf in a pressed uniform, holding a package.
Oh, I open the door.
You open the door, and he says, looks at you, his nice suit and fluffy tie, and he says to you, package for you, my honored guest.
Thank you. I'll take the package.
And he struggles with the axe a little bit, and it is in fact almost as tall as you, this box, and hands it in your arms.
I will place it and prop it up against the door, and one moment, and I'm gonna go dig in my pack and give him 2 gold.
And he takes the bills and looks at you. Oh, well, thank you very much. And he tips his little hat and says, "You have a great day now."
You too.
And he turns about and pockets the bills and heads on out. This package is a simple wooden box made of a pretty light wood, but it is wrapped all in thick brown paper and tied with cord.
I guess I'll put... I can untie the cord or pull out a knife, whatever works, and start opening it up.
Yeah, you take out your little knife and you cut through the cord and you start opening it up. And you pop open the box. It's not really sealed other than the packaging. And nestled on a bed of thin wood shavings is a beautiful double-headed great axe. It is this long iron haft with a comfortable leather-wrapped grip, two of them in positions that easily match the width of your arms. And it comes up to where the head joins the haft. There is it's almost like a brace, I guess, like a little tube that has a small ring of spikes around it, and this is a double-headed great axe with a beautiful brass plating in the center of the head, and it comes out to a beautiful, perfectly sharp and perfectly polished steel edge on both sides.
This is probably the most beautiful, like, Republic-made thing that Mara's ever seen. And she just runs her hands over the handle and plucks a hair to test the edge.
It is preternaturally sharp.
And she's gonna try a swing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make an attack roll to not hit anything, basically.
Yeah.
I rolled a nat 1.
Right into the bedpost.
Right into the minibar. Yeah, you lift it up, and you examine it, and as the light catches it, you see that the 3-starred symbol of Astera is emblazoned on the brass plate in the center of the head. And you nod, you look at it, you see as the light hits it, and you give it a swing, and there is this
first
crash
roll with this new axe.
And there is an immense crash as the axe cleaves straight through 10 small liquor bottles on the minibar.
Damn it, those were probably the most expensive thing in the room.
ZEPHYR runs over to the room after being sort of ripped from some extra meditation time.
Mm-hmm.
Mara, are you okay?
I'm fine. That was stupid.
Yeah, Astrid pokes in, like, her hair all poofy and her clothes all, like, freshly pressed and a little extra shiny looking. She pokes in and goes, I heard breaking glass.
Was there an intruder? What happened?
No, Mara is extraordinarily embarrassed. I just was trying out my new axe. It's very nice, and it'll take a little practice, but I should probably practice outside.
That would be wise.
She's gonna,
It's
like,
very
sweep
pretty.
the broken glass to one side.
It's like, kick it under the bed.
Astrid, do you think you should ring a bell and call for room service to clean this up, or for housekeeping?
Ding.
It's now the morning. You've woken up very well rested and refreshed for after your trance and whatever your morning activities are. What do you want to do today?
Breakfast.
Yeah.
I need some food before I go visit Tico's parents.
Yeah. Is there, like, a restaurant downstairs, or okay, dining hall or whatever?
Yeah, the whole first floor is kind of dedicated to food and drinks and reception.
Oh, can I put my other axe in your magical bag?
Oh, absolutely. And Astrid, like, opens it way wide.
Oh.
So comparing your old axe to this new one, what's it like?
My old axe is so familiar. It's, has these Valashi patterns smithed into it. And the wood is pretty worn, both in a weathered way and in a good way, right? Just from so much use, it fits my hands perfectly. So this new one is so crisp and sharp and fresh, and it's very shiny, but it's not yet comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to use it, but it's like a new set of clothing, right? It looks really good and you're excited to wear it out, but it hasn't been broken in yet.
Like a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, yeah. What are the stats of this axe?
This is a +1 great axe.
Zephyr spent a little bit of time in their room, while hopefully no one else was watching, with the compass in their hand and sort of spinning in a circle and watching it stay the same direction.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, you
Just
feel it shifting in the palm of your hand.
Yeah. You know, getting a bit dizzy, but no one is seeing this.
That's fun. All right, you head down to the hotel bar.
Yeah, would they all head down together?
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Now that
Sure.
I've woken everyone
Yeah,
up.
if someone knocked on Zephyr's door or said something, Zephyr would go with them.
Oh yeah, Mara would
Okay.
knock.
Okay, good.
Sounds great. You head downstairs. It's a busy day
Yes.
at the hotel. People are getting ready to leave. It's just after the Midsummer Festival, so a lot of people who came as tourists to Omavel are on their way out, heading back to their villages, wherever they live for the rest of the year. There are even some people who are not just well-dressed clientele, but look like they're mercenaries, look like they're hired protection, and they're hanging around almost like a taxi service, waiting to be called upon by people leaving this place.
So anyone who saw the three of us walking would have seen Zephyr take several false turns, even walking sort of next to them, like, oh no, this is where we, oh no, that's not where we turn. Like, oh, that's not the right staircase.
Astrid just grabs Zephyr's hand.
And the smell of warm, fresh food, bread with butter, sizzling meat, fresh eggs.
I have to say, cow butter is a lot better than goat butter.
The smell of freshly cooked rice and fish also wafts in. Looks like there are a lot of breakfast foods from a lot of different Auredanian cultures represented here as a cosmopolitan hub. So you guys get breakfast, and we'll just sort of glaze through this. It's a great breakfast. Your entire stay here has been luxurious, perhaps a little too luxurious, and you are refreshed and ready to get back on the road doing whatever it is you're doing. So you gather on one of the benches right inside the lobby, and where do you go next?
Is there a library or a bookshop nearby?
It's possible.
Okay, Astrid wants to ask the receptionist.
Okay, you go over. It's the same guy from yesterday. He looks over. Good morning.
Good morning. Is he like considerably friendlier now that we're not coated in dirt?
Yes,
Gave
actually,
him
yes.
several gold.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is quite chipper interacting with you. I hope you slept well.
Wonderfully, thank you. I was wondering if you could tell me, is there a bookstore nearby?
Yes. Oh, let's see. There are many kinds of bookstores for many kinds of occasions, but if you're looking for sort of a generalized, all-purpose center of knowledge and learning, then you would want to go to the Furled Parchment. It's just a couple of blocks north from here.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Of course, anything.
I'm going to go... Well, I guess I'll need to find my way over there, but find Tico's parents, because I should tell them what happened. And that we'll do whatever we can. Would you like to come with me? I've only met them once. They seem like very nice people.
Sure.
Astrid, are you going to the bookstore? Would you like to come?
I'm gonna go to the bookstore, but let's meet back At the market.
At the market.
Where we went yesterday.
Yeah. Alright.
And we can pick up anything we might need on our way out.
That's a good idea. We should get supplies for the journey. We...
Kind of want to go to the bookstore too.
Well, I'd be happy to accompany you. Maybe we should stick together. Especially while there are Godsworn and demons looking for us. So,
Okay, shall we?
Yes.
Absolutely. You set off, and the receptionist's directions were actually quite good, and you make your way to the furled parchment scrollery quite easily. It has a cute little sign out in front that shows a tightly rolled piece of paper up top, and it rolls out into a little sign. And looking in through the big street-facing windows, you can see rows upon rows of little cubby holes with rolls of parchment inside of it, and even a couple of shelves with leather-bound books as well. As you step inside, a tiny little bell above the door goes ding-a-ding, and the comforting smell of old books permeates the building.
This is a smell very familiar to Astrid. I feel like she just has like a natural ability to find books she wants. Not to the point of like being a sage background, but she makes a beeline for a shelf near the middle and starts rummaging around for scrolls and or books on cats and summoning familiars.
Make an You summoned a cat.
I summoned a cat. They summoned me.
Hi, May. Yeah, you just want love. You just want attention from me.
The secret, the summoning familiars.
ZEPHYR is going to look for a couple books.
Ooh, there we go. Non-nat 20.
Nice. And that's an investigation check, right?
Yeah.
Cool. You want to look for books too, ZEPHYR?
Yes.
Let's make an investigation check.
Whee! Investigation minus 116.
Cool. Sorry, what was the roll of your check?
So, ZEPHYR wants to look for books too.
Yeah. So make an investigation check to search for him.
16.
16. Pretty good. Astrid, you've got a head start on Zeph, and you start going through these scrolls, and you're right. You do have kind of a knack for finding what you want to find.
Astrid's
in
a
these stories.
Hufflepuff.
They're excellent finders.
Mm-hmm.
And has Astrid spent a lot of time in libraries and bookstores before?
It was always her favorite part of visiting towns with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
But also like her house had many books. She spent most of her time growing up reading.
Cool. So you look through these scrolls and you find a couple of things. There is a spell scroll of Find Familiar. This is a pretty common wizarding tool.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several religious texts on cats, temple cats, that sort of thing. And there's a myriad of more mundane texts about how to care for cats, how to make good cat food, how to make sure your cats stay healthy and well exercised, that
They
sort of thing.
disagree on whether to feed your cats wet food or dry food.
Oh, yeah.
How to
I mean,
introduce a new cat to your household.
it's pure chaos. Everything contradicts.
How to introduce your familiar to your pets.
Ah.
In any case, Astrid won't be able to use a spell scroll. But she does take one of the religious texts on like temple cats, and then a general guide to cat care.
Zephyr's looking for books.
Yes.
What in particular are you looking for?
They're looking for two very different things. One, hopefully some kind of nature book, hopefully having to do with mushrooms, if not any kind of wild growth,
Like for
fun foraging books.
So like a survivalist.
A survivalist type of book. And on the other side of that, ZEPHYR also wants to find some kind of fiction adventure book. Not really anything in particular, but hopefully there's some kind of attention-grabbing synopsis on the back or something.
Okay. So the first thing you find is this survivalist text. There is a wealth of literature from Broadfurrow, and from a little town out in the savannah called Reclamation's Pride that's all about finding edible herbs and roots and such out in the savannah terrain and in the steppe terrain as well, because these are... Savannas are fairly lush and wet as far as these things go, but the steppe is really quite rugged. So traveling from Omavel out to Broadfurrow leads you through a multitude of terrains, and anyone making that journey will have to be well equipped with knowledge. So these books are fairly common. Okay.
Are there any nice sections with mushrooms, or is it completely devoid of mushrooms for some reason?
No, it's not devoid of mushrooms.
Good.
The author just hated mushrooms.
Yeah.
Zeph a big fan of mushrooms?
Oh, yeah.
Right on.
Unlike the player, who hates mushrooms.
Yeah. ZEPHYR probably wouldn't know this yet, but ASTRID definitely has like a half a dozen novels in her pack. Or now they're in the bag of holding, so they're not so heavy.
But ZEPHYR will definitely buy that book, especially since it'll actually help on their next leg of their journey.
The next step?
No, leg. Oh.
Yeah.
Taking that inspiration away.
What's that book called?
The book is called...
Step-by-step
it's
foraging.
really weird.
Step-by-step foraging.
Oh my god.
Yes, I
yeah,
just made the same joke twice.
It's got to be that. It's got to be. It's got to be step-by-step foraging.
It's
I'll
part of a
just
series called the show.
erase that. Is ZEPHYR able to find a nice adventure book?
Yes.
Even better if it's part of a series, but they aren't too picky about it right now.
The book that catches your eye the best is a leather-bound tome with gold lettering along the spine that is the Saga of Lady Onriel, and it looks like it's kind of one of those old legends that has been orally passed down for centuries, but this is a prose adaptation. Like as you look at this. Even not being from the Republic, you're familiar with this tale. When you were traveling as a young child, you might have seen it performed by a minstrel troupe along the road, or you might have heard a poem sung in a town you were passing through.
Is it blood, love, and rhetoric, or?
It's actually all three of those things. This is it's a Homeric tale, basically. It's an Odyssey-like story.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it has been novelized. It's not the original. Such as any epic poem can be original. It's not in its poetry form. It has been turned into sort of a easily readable and perhaps a little bit dramatized novel.
Okay.
Is that interested?
Absolutely. Does it seem like there are some fun, fantastic creatures in there too? That's what it sounds like to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And especially if there are fun creatures, it's just like a. I'm just gonna take it.
Lady Onriel was a great hero who traveled the length and breadth of the continent, and she is from Omavel herself. She was a citizen of the great Omatok Empire at one point, but she was a soldier who betrayed her homeland for love, and her lover was killed by Omatok forces, and she traveled the land and fought monsters and on a grand quest to have him resurrected, and you don't quite recall how the ending of this story goes, but you're excited to reread it.
Well, I hope not. That would spoil the ending.
Well, it's a common enough legend. It's like forgetting
Right.
the ending of
Romeo and Juliet,
yeah, basically.
which a lot of people actually seem
oh.
to do.
Are there any books that are written in Elvish?
Ooh.
Elvish hasn't been spoken in the Republic really for a really long time.
Yeah, they're rare. This is such a contemporary store. Yes, there is one book you find, and it is the Elvish
like
to
a
Common
zine.
Dictionary.
Oh.
There's a free zine on the counter.
I like that. Some Oma-Valesian elf has left a zine they published at home in Elvish and left it on the counter.
Is this canon now?
Yeah.
Zephyr takes it.
Yep, you take it, and it's all about camel training.
Zephyr puts it back.
Not into the Elvish camel training culture.
Is it in Elvish?
Oh yeah.
Well, then Mara would know it's about camel training.
Oh, there's a big picture of a camel on the
Oh.
front.
Is it a good picture of a camel?
Mara just wants cool drawings.
No, but like, Mara's tribe uses camels. So.
Yeah. It's a reasonable charcoal sketch.
Take it.
Well, is there a courtyard out front or something?
A courtyard? No.
No, okay, just
It's
the
a
street.
street side,
Okay.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
much do the books run me?
For those books you pick up, it runs you about 3 silver. And for yours, you pick up just the religious text. You leave the spell scroll behind.
Technology is good here.
I'll get the spell scroll, and also just like a general guide to carrying Queer Cat.
Okay. So between the spell scroll and the other stuff, that runs you 20 gold and 2 silver.
Okay.
That scroll's expensive. A lot of expensive wizarding ink went into that one. And Mara, you're just sort of looking around.
Yeah.
Cool. So you gather your things and you head back out onto the Oma-Valesian streets, and you are ready to move. That compass icon is still spinning around in your pocket, Zeph. And Mara, you have somewhere you want to go.
Yeah, I'm going to head west towards the farms on the edge of the city.
Yep.
It might probably even be on the walls of the city.
Beyond the walls of the city, actually, out to the river village.
Yeah. There's the village where a bunch of elven refugees are farming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Tico's parents live.
Is everyone going with Mara?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think Astrid picked up where they were going. She's just following and like puzzling over the spell scroll.
Okay, you pass through the...
On the way there, Zephyr mentions, maybe before we leave, we should visit that guild.
I guess they could have useful information for the journey. They just seemed a little overly enthusiastic.
Yeah. They might carry some good supplies, too.
That could be a good point.
I don't know.
Let's check it out, and if they're weird, we'll leave.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to find my way. I don't know exactly where they are, so I could...
Make a survival check.
I have proficiency in survival. That is a 17.
You survived.
Thanks!
But you don't find it.
Yeah, but at least you
Shucks.
live. You wind your way through the streets like you would wind your way through a desert canyon. And eventually you find your way to the walls of the city. And they pay little mind to people leaving the city itself. And the gates are just always open. And you walk out and you look upon the vast expanse of the Valashi Desert laid out before you. Between you and the desert sands is a wide river with a verdant, lush riverbank that a lot of, in the distance, ant-sized figures are tilling and working. it's pre-noon, so it's kind of the busiest time of day for them.
Are there any carts going that way or anything?
Mostly the carts are coming this way.
Okay, well, I guess we'll hope that if it gets too hot, we can sit down in the shade and have a rest.
Okay. You walk, and you make your way closer and closer. There are some people selling goods on the side of the road.
Anything cool?
It's mostly just like food, melons, drinks on a hot day. There are these big shaded canvas tents. There's one person who is selling 10 minutes of sitting in the shade for a copper.
I'll buy a melon.
Yeah, Astrid buys like a huge wedge of melon on a stick.
Nice. You both get that. Are you buying the whole melon?
I thought it was whole melon for sale.
How about you guys split a whole melon between the two of you?
Okay.
I'll help
Do
if that's
they-
necessary.
Yeah, you
Would
get
you
a
split it for us?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like this is small change for you
Yeah.
guys. This is 3 copper.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
Buy a
real
whole
actual
melon,
life, I
we'll all split
absolutely
it.
can eat
Yeah.
a whole melon to myself. And I have done so.
Yep. Oh, mood. And you make your way down to the riverbank. And by this time of day, it's about an hour before noon. It's starting to get toasty. Astrid's fine. Mara's sweating a bit, and Zeph, this is hell on you.
Yeah, you're probably cooking in your armor, huh?
This desert sun.
Okay.
Astrid hands him a hand fan out of her bag.
The melon helps a little.
Does
but
the
not nearly enough.
hand fan help?
The hand fan does. Before that, there was an extra slice of melon that Zephyr put to their forehead to try to cool off.
But it just made it sticky.
Yeah.
He smells nice, though.
So
They
much for the
smell nice.
bath.
You can see a lot of people by the river who are starting to put their tools down and make their way to small houses. They're more like huts that are built from mud and straw and constructed near the edges of the river. Most of them are actually on a small cliff, maybe about 10 feet high, away from the waxing and waning flood banks of the river.
Do I remember where Tico's parents' house is?
Absolutely. You wander straight there, and it is a very humble little place that has a window carved out of the mud facing away. It has a couple of it's not like a planter box, but there are flowers that have been planted in the loamiest sand around. And a lot of these flowers seem like they really oughtn't to be growing here, especially not in desert soil, but something is keeping them flourishing, even in this heat. It looks like people are home. You can sense some motion from inside the house.
Right. I'll go up and knock on the door.
Cool. You knock on the door, and there's a voice from inside. This sort of soft, lilting voice. It says, "Oh, just a moment." And to the door comes a graceful, lithe elven form with shoulder-length hair. Looks out at you. And a moment of dawning realization crosses over their face, and they say, "Mara." This is Yunang Broadbow, one of Tico's 3 elven parents.
Yunang, you remember me?
I could hardly forget someone like you. They kind of look up at you.
I'm flattered. May we come in?
Absolutely. I'm not familiar with your friends.
This is ZEPHYR and ASTRID.
It's a pleasure to meet you, ZEPHYR. Astrid, please come in. I have a little cold water that I've been saving for the afternoon. Would you like to share it with me?
That would be much appreciated.
Yanagi and Moshai will be happy to see you. and they gesture you in and sit down upon a cushion. So they sort of kneel down upon this cushion and take this clay mug and dip it in this bowl of chilled water, and pass it around to pass 3 of these mugs around to each of you. And 2 other elves, one very animated and excited. This one is Yanagi, and they rush over to Mara and immediately just clasp her in this big embrace and says, "Mara!"
Mara gives them a hug and lifts them off their feet a little bit.
Do their arms reach all the way around Mara?
Well, as far as they can, anyway. And they say, "I can't believe it! I didn't expect you to be coming back to the city this soon. I thought you would be off on a big adventure back in the desert."
Well, we're off again soon, but we wanted to come back to Omavel, and visit a few familiar faces.
And hanging back is Moshai with a distinctly male presentation. And he looks over towards you and says, "Hi, Mara."
Moshai, it's good to see you all. Thank you for your hospitality.
Of course. And even though he is quite reserved, there is a broad smile upon his face. He looks over all of you. And you spend a few minutes cordially
Mara feels terrible.
greeting one another. And then Yunang says, "Where is Tico?"
That's one of the reasons we came here, to see you. There were the 6 of us, us 3, Zephyr's friend Asaranon, Astrid's sister Krauna, and Tico. We were charged with battling Renault. And something happened, and we don't know where they are.
"Something happened," says Yanagi. "Something happened? What does something happened mean?"
We broke the Warlock staff, and we all blacked out. We all lost consciousness, and when we awoke, there were only statues of the other 3, but we felt their presences, and
He's a statue? What are you talking about?
If we knew more, we would tell you. We don't really understand what's going on, but I can assure you, he's somewhere. And so is my sister. So is Asaranon.
Yunang is still kneeling on this cushion that they've been on, and they seem to be the most composed out of the 3. They are biting their lip and just sort of looking with a long, hard gaze at you. Yanagi is rushed right up in front of you. Their faces just inches from yours. They're staring you down. Just this icy look in their eyes.
How much anger is there, whether directed at Mara or not?
Yanagi is furious.
Okay. That makes Zephyr supremely uncomfortable, and they go outside.
Okay. Zephyr, as you go outside, you actually pass by the 3rd of Tico's parents, Moshai, and he has sort of removed himself from this conversation. He is standing right by the entrance of the door, and he is just weeping quietly. And he glances up at you as you pass by him. And he wipes the tears from his eyes and looks at you. His eyes are kind of red and puffy, and he looks like he's about to say something to you, but then he closes his mouth and turns away again.
I am so sorry.
You're so sorry. How can you say you're so sorry? What are you doing? What are you doing to find him? What are you doing to help him? What do you know?
Mara takes the pendant out of her shirt to show to him, and says well, neither, I don't know that much about religion, but the High Priest of the Six, the Oracle of Astera himself, believes that our friends believes that Tico is not lost. That he is somehow still connected with us. And we will do everything we can to find out what happened and restore him and bring him home.
But you don't know anything. And Yanagi looks at you one more time, staring daggers, and just turns on their heel and storms off. Yunang looks up and says, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can say.
I'm sorry, there's nothing I can say. I thought you should know.
You were wise to tell us, they say, and they stand up from the cushion that they were sitting on, walks over to you and takes the last sip from their mug and places it down. Yanagi and Moshai are both very emotional people. Yanagi is hot-tempered. Moshai wears his heart on his sleeve. Yanagi will recover quickly. Please do not let their fury discourage you. I will do my best to make sure that Moshai recovers. He will take this very, very hard.
I know how much Tico means to you.
He means the stars to us. Moshai especially. He was the one who always wanted a child. He was the one who convinced us to take Tico in. And since then, Tico has become more important to us than anything else in the world. And
know that I tried to protect Tico as if he were my own son.
I don't doubt it. No matter what Yanagi says to you, we both know that you did everything you could, and you are doing everything you can. That pendant that you have around your neck, it glows. It's magical. You think this really is a connection?
I can't describe it. We felt a connection, and Astrid has her own connection to the gods, to the Celestials, and she had a dream that told her that our friends are not lost.
What kind of connection is it? Have you tried speaking to them?
Not directly, I suppose. Mara's sort of trying to judge whether talking about, like, the statues is gonna upset them. It's more of a knowledge that this light, well, it wasn't there before, and we all had the same, I don't know if it was a dream or reality experience, where we were in a vast, dark expanse, and our friends were being pulled away from us.
Astrid looks at the fading wounds on her hands. There's still a faint, like, reddish scar vertically.
I'm sorry, Yanagi, Moshai, and I, we're farmers. We're farmers and herbalists. We know nothing of magic like this. We know what little bit of elven magic we were taught in our homeland, but that, what you're talking of, goes far beyond this.
goes far beyond our own experiences, and though he may be loath to admit it, I think the High Priest as well.
Astrid pipes up. She says, if it's any comfort to you, I've been praying for Tico as well as my sister and Asaranon every night.
It is some comfort.
I pray that Elo's light will guide them home.
Let us all pray that Elo's light guides us to our homes and to the knowledge that we seek. What is your plan? You want to find him. How will you do it?
We are journeying to the Nortok Steppe to seek out one of Renault's remaining lieutenants, and we hope that he may have some information, some knowledge on what dark magic Renault was working.
If I may be so bold, when I traveled westward in the Exodus, when the war began, I stopped for a day, for more than a day, weeks perhaps, in a city on the savannah called Reclamation's Pride. And while I was there, I met with a tiefling woman who went by the name of Premonition. The people of that city call her the Speaker in Dreams, because while she sleeps, she can communicate with anyone, anywhere. And it is said that she can grant that power to others as well. If you are traveling to the Nortok Steppe, it might behoove you to stop in Reclamation's Pride and find the tiefling named Premonition.
Yes, if she truly has that power, which... that would be incredible.
I don't know if what happened to our boy will thwart her magic, but it is the only lead I have. It is the only thing I know that can help you.
Thank you.
Of course.
I know it seems disgraceful to even ask, but if there's anything we can do for you here, if there's anything you need. I know Tico's was a help to you.
Yunang looks at you for a moment, as if thinking how to say this gently. And eventually they say, keeping my partners level-headed has always been my responsibility. I will make sure that Yanagi does not lose their temper. I will ensure that Moshai does not fall into despair. I think the most important thing that all of you can do is to find Tico and bring him back to us. And for a moment, that placid strength that surrounds Yunang's being trembles. And they say to you, just please bring him back to us.
Tomorrow we'll embrace them. Takes them by the shoulders. We will. We'll bring all of them back.
Then go with purpose and walk with valor. Zephyr, as you're standing outside, you're eventually joined by Moshai, and he looks at you. He is... How tall is Zephyr?
It's like 5'9", right?
I'm pretty sure it was 5'9".
Moshai is about an inch shorter than you.
Okay.
And he looks at you. He meets your gaze, and stares at you for a long beat, and says to you, Tico was always able to find his way home. I want you to be able to find your way home too. I sense something about you. And he takes a bracelet, a grass-woven bracelet from around his wrist and unclasps it. There's a little metal ring that clasps the woven grass. And he opens up one graceful hand and wordlessly requests yours. And he takes your gloved hand and pulls it closer to him. And he takes this woven bracelet, and clasps it around your wrist, and then takes your gloved hand in both of his and says, "May this charm of ancient spirits always be a guiding path in a roadless wood." And tears well up in his eyes again, and he presses the back of your hand to his forehead. He bows down, and he stands up, releases it, nods at you, and goes back inside, sort of brushing past Mara.
So, before Moshai came out, and after a few minutes of needing to calm down, what is their farm area like? How big is it? And most importantly, how well are the plants growing?
So their farm area, their house is pretty separate from the farm itself. There is a little cliff that their house stands upon, and stairs have been carved into the sandstone. And it winds down to the riverbank, where there is a fairly large plot of well-irrigated, deeply tilled land. Reeds are sprouting from it, bamboo and sugarcane, and all of these tall stalked plants growing from the floodplains. And actually, it's doing fairly well. The plants seem to be green and hearty, and you tap on one of the bamboo stalks, and it is thick and sturdy. One thing that is not doing so well, I'm gonna totally mess up what kind of plants grow in like the Nile River right now. I've got no idea. But there is a patch of a grain that is unfamiliar to you, some sort of, it's not quite rice, but it's not quite wheat, it's some kind of grain that you're not quite familiar with. Fantasy plants. Fantasy plants.
Plantasy.
It's quinoa. Some kind of fantasy grain is growing out of this riverbed, and it looks a little wilted. And in fact, it seems to be taking up a great deal of their farm space. This slightly wilted grain. And would you make a nature check for me?
Do it.
I'm gonna use my inspiration, because that ain't right. There we go. 16.
16. Zephyr, you know a blight when you see one. there is some kind of hard-shelled insect that is chewing and rotting this grain where it grows.
Does lay on hands only work on creatures?
You want to convince me?
Well, I have an idea for what I want to do.
Go for it.
But ZEPHYR needs to talk to Mara and just keep thinking the name Tico. ASTRID first.
Okay. Mara, Astrid, are you all done in there?
Yeah, well, I see ZEPHYR down by the river down in the farmland. And with a last look at the mud and stone house, Mara will lead the way down. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time to go join ZEPHYR.
Yeah, Zeph, you're down by the river and you see Mara and Astrid as they exit the house.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, that wasn't easy for any of us.
What you doing in the farm?
I thought maybe I could help their farm. It might not be much, but it might help them if I could help their farm be healthier, grow more. It wouldn't eliminate pain, but it might help something.
From what little Tico's told me, this farm is their livelihood, and I'm sure that they would appreciate any help you have to offer, especially something like this that's uniquely suited to you.
I only hope it wouldn't wound their pride.
Well, this might be better than offering them money.
Yes, I agree.
The only problem is it'll take quite a bit of time.
How long is quite a bit of time?
It'll take about a third of the day.
So a few
But-
hours?
Yeah.
Well, maybe in that case we should ask them if we're going to be here, since I imagine they're going to come back and work the land after lunch.
Maybe. Joey,
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you, since it doesn't necessarily say.
Sure.
The spell plant growth,
Uh-huh.
the action, it can either be an action or an 8-hour casting. The one action casting says that all normal plants become thick and overgrown. Those words to me don't necessarily mean that it would be helpful.
Right.
Because I
The
hear
growth
thick
might
and
be too
overgrown
fast
and
to
I
be,
think of weeds.
Mm-hmm.
But would casting that on their farm, do you think it would be sort of good, or be a weird situation where everything grows too much and suffocates all the plants?
I think the one action one would be a little bit overmuch.
Right.
It would what it would do is, I think it would make the plants grow just fine, but ZEPHYR is keen enough to know that if you make plants grow artificially and too big, then they kind of lose all their flavor and
Right.
their nutritional value. They just kind of become big, useless plants, sacks of water,
Show
basically.
plants.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like big pumpkins are
Yeah.
disgusting.
Those giant squashes at the fair that no one will eat.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this the only farm in the area, or
There are dozens of tiny farms all over the river.
how many are in, say, a half-mile radius?
You'd probably catch half-mile radius. You'd probably catch 10 different farming plots.
Okay.
I guess we could just walk around here. You don't have to be in like a specific,
Yeah,
or you don't
no.
have to be exactly on their farm.
No, I don't. If you wouldn't mind, come back in 8 hours.
You don't want us to stay with you?
That's not necessary.
Do you need anything from the market?
Not that I can think of. If you find something really helpful or nice,
We'll pick up some
Sure.
good all-purpose supplies and...
yeah.
We'll meet you back here in 8 hours, I guess.
Yes.
Or it would be more efficient to meet in the city if you think you could find your way back, but we could also come meet you.
If I don't see you in 8 hours, I will start walking back.
We'll meet you here on the road
Yeah,
then.
I'm sorry to postpone us leaving,
It's for a good cause.
I'm glad to do something that you can do something for the elves here. In my tribe, I mean, if somebody's tent is destroyed in a sandstorm, someone else takes them in and helps them until they can make their own tent, and repayment is expected, but that's not... That's a matter of honor, not of policy.
Yeah, I want to help. Yanagi scares me, but I want to help.
We'll see you in 8 hours
Yes. Zephyr finds a nice spot, hopefully semi-shaded,
Mm-hmm.
where
There's a-
they can catch the most number, or the greatest amount of farm, and casts plant growth.
Cool.
So
Is your casting like a quiet, meditative chanting? Or are you kind
this
of like...
one absolutely, definitely a meditation prayer to Kieva. So all the plants in a half-mile radius become enriched for 1 year.
And yield twice the amount of
Yes,
harvest.
they yield twice the normal amount of food when harvested.
Nice.
So they're
do
gonna
you-
have some nice plants.
Do you wear your armor while you're doing this, or do you
Yeah,
go down to your normal clothes?
Zephyr wouldn't have thought to take them off. They just wanted to.
You're
Mara
like
makes
an hour in and you're sweating. You're like, oh crap.
And then
Yeah.
you realize Mara left a water skin next to you.
Aww.
Have to stay hydrated.
Cool.
But yeah.
Mara's kids are like, Mom, I know.
So the day passes. Is there anything in particular Mara and Astrid want to do during this day? Otherwise, I'll just sort of move us along to evening.
Astrid's been poring over her cat books all day.
Aw. They're well illustrated and very cute.
Has she gleaned any information on how she might gain a familiar?
The only way to gain a familiar is through the casting of the Find Familiar spell, it seems. But there are other ways to gain animal companions. If you were to gain the ability to speak with animals and just make friends with it normally, you could have an animal friend, even if they aren't any particularly, even if they aren't of any particular magical power or combat utility. Basically, as long as you're able to befriend an animal, you can hang out with it. That's sort of the gist of what you get. But to actually have a magical bond, only those who distinctly possess familiars or who are trained rangers tend to have that kind of close connection.
Okay. What about Pact of the Chain Warlocks? Does that just give you Find Familiar?
It gives you the Find Familiar spell and some quite powerful resources in addition to it.
Bummer.
Yeah. Oh well. What's Astrid going to do with this information now that you know the nature of conjuring familiars and befriending animals?
Animals do naturally like her if they are neutral or friendly to begin with. So she doesn't doubt her ability to befriend a cat. She's not sure how she would gain its favor enough to make it come with her unless she could speak to animals, but
Okay.
she doesn't even know how she would gain that ability.
So sort of a long-term goal for Astrid then.
Looks
Have
like
to
it.
find a cat who speaks common or celestial.
Celestial kitty.
I mean, if Latara didn't have a job...
So Zephyr, you continue your meditation for 8 hours. You see the sun dip down beneath the horizon, and the magic that you have been channeling wells around you. You can feel it surrounding you as if you're dipping into the ocean. And as your ritual completes, I know it's not a ritual. As your ritual completes,
you know.
you feel as if your spiritual being has grown taut with tension. You've been extending your power out for such a great period of time that when the ritual ends, it's like a snap, and you feel yourself thrust back into your physical body. Your consciousness shrinks down to just yourself instead of the full mile around of land that you have sort of become one with for a moment, and you retract back to your own consciousness, and you feel happy. There's a sense of peace that suffuses you, and you can see it. You don't think anyone else can. Many of the humans and elves that are working this field continue as if nothing happened, but you can see the tiny motes of light, the increased vigor of the plants growing in this land.
I like the idea that Zephyr's been sitting there for 8 hours, and because he's so in tune with nature generally, and like during this period of time specifically, that he can see new leaves that have unfurled on the plants around him.
You can feel the roots of every individual plant digging into the ground and drinking up the water. Yeah.
How are the fantasy grains? Because I know that plant growth, it can't just eliminate a blight, but in some ways it still might help.
Yeah. You've renewed the strength of these plants, and they are fighting off the parasite that is preying upon them. And Zephyr, you stand. There is sweat pouring down your brow. There's a little bit of water that just seeps out of your armor as you stand up.
Whoosh.
Yeah. and you look around, and you notice that Mara and Astrid are not quite back there yet, and so you decide to make your way back to Omavel. And as you reunite in Omavel, in the main lobby of the Velvet Glove, that's where we're going to take a break for now. We'll catch you after the break. It's been kind of a long first half, but that's all right. It'll be a quick second half. See ya. Hey there, welcome to the middle of the episode. Thanks for sticking with us this far. You know how much I appreciate and love and adore all of you for watching this show and following the adventures of our bold heroes here in Worlds Apart. I know this episode has been kind of thoughtful and character-focused, and there haven't been a lot of
big fights or explosions or tense chase scenes or anything like that. But I hope that you like this side of Worlds Apart and have been enjoying this episode. As usual, here in the mid-roll, I want to give a shout-out to our sponsor, Kobold Press. They have given us art and books and all sorts of great tools to use in this campaign. Everything from the Midgard Heroes Handbook to the Tome of Beasts and Creature Codex. And I want to talk about real quick a product that they just put out called Midgard Sagas. Set in their home campaign setting of Midgard. Midgard Sagas is a collection of 6 adventures that have been playtested countrywide, nationwide, at gaming conventions here in the United States. And they're heavily playtested. You know, people from all around have been playing them in their various rough draft forms. And they've gotten this great coat of polish and professional art design and layout and all the stuff you'd expect from a professionally put together adventure book. They're all one-shots. They're high action, fast pacing, tons of fun. I really recommend you get it. I'll put a little link to it down in the description below. I also want to talk about Tabletop Loot real quick. You may have noticed that they have their logo down in the bottom of our screen, starting with this episode. Tabletop Loot is great. They make wonderful dice. They do great giveaways. We did a giveaway with them for a Misty Step dice set a couple of months ago. That was really successful. People seem to like it. Go check out their stuff. I won't be yammering on about them in the future. That's not the nature of our relationship, but just want to let everyone know that Tabletop Loot does great stuff, and we're happy to have them as a supporter of this show as well. Before we go, I want to once again thank all of you for watching this show and really encourage you to support us on Patreon if you've enjoyed what you've seen this week and every other week. Patreon is the core means of supporting this show. It helps us improve every aspect of this production, from sound quality to video quality to images and assets and game tools and everything like that. Music. I love music. So if you can afford to chip $1 into the tin can over at Patreon, go ahead. Toss in a little bit every month. We'd really appreciate it. But if you can't spare any money right now, I totally understand. Another way you can support the show is by liking, subscribing, and even leaving comments on the video. I read all the comments we get. I love seeing them. I love hearing your thoughts. We got a really sweet comment on our last video just a couple of days ago, and it just fills my heart with joy to see people enjoying the show and telling me what they think about it. So that's all I got to say so far. We're going to get into the back half of the episode. It's a short little bit left, and I think it's quite exciting. Very adventurous, this back half of the episode. Alright, I'll see you around.
Alright, so
We're back.
I wanted to buy some horses.
Do we have enough gold for that?
And I don't know, and a mushroom skewer for ZEPHYR.
sure, you search
gold for
through,
horses.
you go through the marketplace and you look for
How much
some,
costs?
a horse seller, and you find a couple of options. Camels are kind of the mount of choice around this place, especially for pack animals, but since you'll be heading out onto the savannah and further onto the plains, there are definitely horses available for you to purchase.
Please tell me this happens when we've met back up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Are you looking for? So you're looking for a riding horse, yeah?
Yeah.
Each one of those will run you about 75 gold.
Maybe plus a little bit
Wow.
for saddle and bridle and all of that, or does that come with?
Yeah, a simple saddle, a riding saddle, will cost 4 gold on top of it. Or, sorry, 10 gold on top of that.
So 85 each.
And 5 more for saddlebags. 90 if you're getting all of the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
So, ZEPHYR casts Speak with Animals
Mm-hmm.
because I want to be absolutely sure that we get the right horses for us.
Okay. There are plenty of horses around here. One of them Generally, they're sort of like Arabian horses here in the real world. And most of the horses you find are kind of standoffish. They like look at you and they're like, whatever. Most of them, they're not like mean horses. They just really have no reason to pay attention. There is one horse that's just kind of a jerk. He blows air through his nose at you as you approach, and he kind of turns around and looks away from you, walks back into his stall. And there's one horse that is just excited to see you, excited as all get out. He's got this big white streak down his nose, and he comes up to you when you approach the stable and just sticks his head over the gate and looks right at you.
Can ZEPHYR and I work together to make an animal handling check to pick out horses that would be good, like are in good condition and are sort of up mentally and physically to this long journey?
Sure. Go ahead and both of you make an animal handling check.
Can I make an animal handling check to pet the friendly horse?
Yes. You make that with advantage.
Cool. That's 19.
19. You pet the friendly horse, and the friendly horse just loves it. You get a big drop of horse drool right on you.
I rolled a 9.
I got a 16.
Okay. You go around the space, and you find a couple of good horses. You find 3. There are 3 that you think are of a suitable temperament and build. And you could get the super friendly one, too, if you wanted. Or instead of one of those.
Well, I definitely want the super friendly one. ZEPHYR asks if they want to go on an adventure.
Aw, the friendly horse looks at you and says, "Oh, I would love an adventure.
Yeah, we gotta take that guy. We gotta take him.
I just want to hang out with you." And the other 2 horses that you look at, they say, "An adventure? Well, it sure beats sitting in a stable all day." "Sure, I'd love to go on an adventure with you."
Okay. And... Sorry, got distracted. So we pick out these horses. What do they look like? Would you like us to decide that?
Yeah, what would you like your horses to look like?
Well, we
I
know
mean,
the
a
super friendly
unicorn,
one has.
but
Yeah,
Has
super
the-
friendly one has a white streak down his nose. That's the
forget what
only
that's
specific
called.
thing.
A star?
a stripe. A star is a
The star is
forehead. It's just
the
called a
dot.
stripe.
Okay.
The horse that Mara picks out is a mare. Some of the desert tribes use horses, and she knows that it can be better to pick geldings or mares because stallions can get really distracted in battle if there are other horses they smell. And so it's a mare with a tan coat and white mane and tail,
Cool.
who's up to carrying her weight and she thinks has the endurance for the long journey. I'll think about what to name her.
How about Astrid?
Astrid's horse is got like a gleaming white gold coat, and is like clearly very like strong and healthy, and has like I guess basically a pure white mane and tail.
Just a beautiful celestial looking horse.
Yeah, she picks the one that looks the most like a unicorn, basically.
How about ZEPHYR, other than that white stripe?
So, aside from the white stripe on this boy, he is a very dark brown. I forget which color that technically is. It's darker than the chestnut.
Roan or dun?
Dun's kind of gray, isn't it?
Yeah. And roan is more of reddish, I
Yeah.
think.
Those are the only horse colors I know.
It's a very dark brown, pretty close to almost a black, with the white stripe. And it also has his back left hoof has a sock, like an ankle sock, but the others don't. And did he say he had a name?
He didn't. None of these horses told you their names,
Okay.
if they have one.
So I will think of a name.
It's really just, like, cold climate horses that have the feathering on their feet, right? It wouldn't
Yeah.
make sense
Yeah.
for a desert horse to have that.
Yeah, they would just get dirty, basically.
They're cute, but
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll find some when we go up north.
So the horse salesman comes up to you and says, "Well, you've picked out 3 very fine steeds indeed. I'm looking over everything, and I think that what you might appreciate is not just 3 horses, but a saddle, saddlebags, and you can't forget this, feed for your journey. I can get you all of that, horses included, for 100 gold each, and that includes enough feed for your horses for, where do you say you're headed?
We're headed all the way up to the Nortalk Steppe.
You're insane. Well, if you're going to Arvix, then I'd say several weeks' rations for that. If you need to restock, you can. But yes, 100 gold for enough food to get you to Arvix, along with all the other horse accoutrements.
Sounds reasonable. These will be new saddles and bridles, of course.
Of course.
And Mara's gonna check
I'm
the
not going to
tag.
get them, engraved or anything. That costs extra. But brand new, fresh leather.
did the horse salesman give us his name?
Oh, my name is Redling.
Mara's just gonna check the tack as he pulls it out to make sure it's all in good condition.
It's all in suitable condition.
My horse's name is Murphy.
And what a lovely name it is. Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't properly introduce myself. Redling Roxman, at your service.
Hello.
Oh.
Is he a human?
He is a human.
Pleased to meet you.
Of course, of course. Now go take your horse, and be on your way.
Of course, of course.
Of course, of course.
Indeed, we'll take our steeds.
300 gold in total, then.
The party goal.
And Mara counts out the bills.
Very good.
I'm envisioning not necessarily barding, but like some kind of head protector that has a horn on it.
I mean, you could get a like helmet if you wanted to. If you wanted to get barding, I
Are
mean, it would cost you.
These
but
are riding horses.
these are riding horses, correct? War horses
Yeah.
would be quite
Right.
expensive.
She just affixes it to the bridle.
So you have your horses, you have food and supplies, traveling supplies that you would need to go along the savannah. Is there anything else you'd like to do before you leave Omavel?
Maybe we can get dinner at the market and find another mushroom skewer. I would like to try some mushrooms after hearing you speak so highly of them.
They're quite good.
Yeah, so we can go find dinner at the market.
Yes, and then we'll be on our way.
Okay. You find dinner at the market. This market is incredibly busy, even at this late hour. People are always coming and going. And these mushroom skewers, Zephyr, you tried one the other day, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you guide your party towards where you found them, and they're just as delicious as you remembered them. These big, wide mushroom caps. They're grilled with just a perfect amount of black char on them. It's fantastic. A little bit beyond your usual fare,
Mara
Mara.
has to eat 2 to decide that she likes them, but she thinks she does like them.
Okay.
All right then. I think the safest place for this money is in this bag.
I agree. And I figured we put the horse feed in there as well, just so we don't have to carry it.
Yes, good idea.
You've got saddlebags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the horse doesn't have to carry it either.
Zephyr puts their
Put the
new,
saddlebags in the bag of holding.
new books in the saddlebags.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And probably a few other things, like their water skin and other supplies that...
Some rope.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
rope. Well, the rope can be sort of tied to the side, too. Just stuff that you don't necessarily want in the bag of holding,
Right.
Sure thing.
because you don't want to dig through the bag of holding.
You don't want the book pages to get all bent and
Yeah,
torn.
I mean, they probably wouldn't, but
Yeah.
sometimes a nice, non-extra dimensional bag feels good. Just makes you feel a little bit better.
Very good. It's evening now.
All right, and I think we are at the gates.
Oh,
getting
are
ready.
we planning to leave in the evening, or were we gonna spend the night and then head out in the morning? I mean, I guess we might as well head
Yeah.
out and camp.
I think it would be kind of nice to spend another night out under the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Nice
ready to
change
leave
of
the
pace.
city.
All right, then you mount your horses. You gallop out through the eastern gates of the city, leaving its tall, protective walls and the ever-present radiance of the star spire behind you. And you go along the road, passing those last few stragglers in the night, bringing their carts into Omavel. You ride out past the Prophet's Stone, the Wayfarer's Stone, that you passed on the entrance to the city. Its camp is quiet, a few campfires smoldering into the night. And you cross the river, and you make your way into the mountains, just at the very edge of the city-state. And you camp there for the night. You rest in a safe overhang of rock, and see the stars shining above you, just a little bit dim in comparison to the bright light of the city.
What do the two of you think about going to Reclamation's Pride?
I would love
Why?
to go. I've never been.
Zephyr was not in that
Oh,
conversation.
Well, I will fill Zephyr in on what Yuning told us. And the roads have gotten a little torn up during the war, I hear. But especially now that we have these horses, it might actually be just as fast to go by way of Reclamation's Pride instead of cutting directly across the savannah. And
In that case, I don't see any reason not to.
Let's go then.
I made a promise that we would do everything we could to find our friends, and I intend to keep that promise.
Very good. The evening passes and gives way to a bright, colorful sunrise. You hop on your horses. You ride towards that sunrise, out eastward, past the mountains, following the road as best as you can until you reach a point where the road simply ceases to be. You see on one side of you an old ruined fortress. You're far away enough from Omavel now that these lines of defenses were old fortifications crushed by monsters in the war. Their husks, like skeletons of long dead combatants, simply laying out in the sun to bleach dry. And you drive past, you ride past, and you find yourself out in the savannah. The sand and scrubby grass gives way to tall, golden blades nearly as high as your knees were you walking. And as you ride across, you can see clearly why this place is known to all as the Sea of Golden Grass. It stretches on to all horizons all around you, save for the direction you just came from. And the air is buzzing with sound, birds chirping, in the trees, the buzzing of insects in the grass. Even as the wind whips past you, it creates another sound in the symphony of your travel. You stop during the day at a river, a small creek really. You stop and let the horses drink, and you fill up your own canteens as well. And you see in the mud around this river a strange indent, about the size of a bathing tub, just impressed deep, 5 feet deep into the ground.
That's really deep.
It's very deep. It has gone through the soft mud and into the hard earth beneath it.
Is it like filled with water, or?
It's filled with sort of muddy slush, only a couple of inches.
Nope.
What did you roll?
I tried to roll investigation, and I rolled a 4.
That's a hole.
Zephyr, do you know what this is?
What should I roll?
What do you want to roll? You see an unusually shaped hole in the ground.
Oh, I'll roll a survival.
Okay.
Boom. 12.
Well, survival's a really good skill for this, actually. You've stumbled upon a good way forward, even if it wasn't the best roll. You look around, and through your knowledge of wilderness survival, you manage to ascertain that this is not the only hole like this. It's just the one that's deepest and in the softest terrain. In fact, there are many such impressions like this in the grass and harder earth beyond this creek, and these indentations form a staggered column of 2 traveling in a row.
They are tracks.
Yeah, Zephyr, they're big footfalls, 5-foot-long footfalls, each foot as large as you, a little smaller.
Oh boy. Obviously in the desert, like, we don't get tracks like these, but the sand just kind of covers everything. But have I seen any monsters, any creatures that would make footfalls, make tracks this big?
Make a history check.
My best guess is gigantic elephant.
That is a 9.
There are legends that the people of the Valashi Desert tell of giant creatures that wander the landscape. In fact, your mythology is filled with them. Giant animals, giant people. The monsters that invaded and even made their mark upon the desert in many ways fulfilled these legends, but it is known that even before their incursion, giants such as Vidar, the being that you fought on the Shattered Plains before entering Hollow Mountain, was such a giant humanoid. Her footfalls may have been akin to this.
Are there any trees around here?
There are a few copses of baobab trees in the distance.
I'd like to try to climb up one of the trees and take a look around with my spyglass.
Sure.
The footprints, were they clawed footprints?
Ah, good question.
Did they look to be just incredibly large shoes?
They actually looked like booted footprints. They have a heavier indentation in the back with a slight crease before reaching the front. You climb up into a tree and you look about. Make a perception check.
6.
You get up into the tree, and as you do so, you accidentally kick a bee's nest.
Ah!
And they don't really go after you, but you're so concerned about not letting them sting you that you look about for just the briefest moment, and then the bough that you are hanging onto snaps, and you just sort of pump down onto the ground.
Ugh.
You're not really hurt, but your pride is bruised.
gonna snap this branch into some kindling for our fire tonight.
Show
Yeah,
what
you
for.
still got this like
Yeah.
plaza-sized branch in your hand.
Guess we'll keep an eye out for these any creatures that might make this, though. If they're really that big, I imagine they'd see us first.
Probably.
Yeah, Astrid's just like standing in like a 2-foot deep footprint. Just like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
Well, Astrid, you have an uncomfortable memory of when a woman this size stuffed you in her backpack while you were traveling with Krona.
That's true. Yeah. I don't. Well, she's dead, but
We hope.
I don't want to meet another of her kind presently.
Okay. You are
As much as Astrid loves a good fight.
you are currently traveling on no road. You're traveling through the grasslands. How are you keeping your bearing as you travel towards Reclamation's Pride?
Stars?
Fair. But during the day?
During the day, mostly position of the sun, because we basically have to head due east, but...
Astrid can always see her star, and her star is very close to Elo.
Oh,
Ah.
cool.
She always knows
Elo,
which
the
way
North
is
Star.
almost north.
Ha! Nice. So Astrid is always able to help with navigation checks, with survival checks to navigate. So Mara, are you sort of leading by the sun with Astrid being your point person on keeping sort of that eastward trajectory? Cool. So how about you both make a survival check?
17.
Oh, yeah, 17.
Cool.
Next time we get an ability score increase, I need to do something about my wisdom and intelligence.
Womp womp. So you wind your way through the savannah, making use of shade when it offers itself to you and finding water as it appears. And you pass by wildlife, some ibixes moving through. Every now and then you see a giraffe off in the distance chomping on the top of a tree. And
Mara's like, what's that?
why? It's a leopard-spotted horse with a 10-foot long neck, of course. And antenna.
I don't think Zephyr's seen a giraffe before, but they're in the book.
Yeah, so you pop out your step-by-step survival guide.
Yep.
And there is a rough sketch of a giraffe in there, and it says in big print along the top of the page, "Never fear, they're herbivores."
Well, I mean, it is more of a plant-based book, but because they're herbivores, it does talk about what giraffes eat.
Mm-hmm. They're treetop grazers, and they tend to stay away from most other smaller creatures unless their young are threatened. It does warn particularly, however, against herbivores that feel threatened, because they do not use their energy to hunt. They use their energy to kick ass when they need to.
Is that the exact quote from
That's
the
the
book?
exact quote.
Damn, this book.
No, this book actually has a little note scribbled in Half-Blood Prince style. So whoever owned this book last made that note about the giraffes.
Mara makes a note to tell her son Haroon about these animals.
Cool.
Did you know that when they fight, they swing their heads on their big long necks like a big mace? It's so cool.
Really? Does the book back that up?
Book doesn't say much about it at all.
It
but
is literally true, though.
yeah,
I know,
but
it's
you
literally
you look over at the
I
thing, and
didn't
it
know. That's very cool.
and you can see it wiggling its neck around to get to bits of leaves that are hard to reach, and you think that if it's not true, it certainly would be cool if it were.
We should have gotten giraffes.
I think they might be a bit more expensive.
Also, they're so tall. How do you get on their backs?
Jump? Wings?
I mean, I guess you and I could do that.
As you're looking at this giraffe, you can see it perk its head up and look not in your direction, but away from you, past the trees that it's grazing on. Pretty thick copse of trees. And it looks around, and then it backs up awkwardly and quickly, and then it turns. It sort of rears up to turn. It puts all its front legs in the air and puts down, heading in a southwestern direction. That motorcycle.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Shithead noises. I don't know what those sounds are.
Yeah,
Just
you
the
can spell it
driver's back.
Waroom. Waroom.
Isn't that what
No, it's Haroon.
I mean, it's really just whirring. Because everyone knows giraffes whir. I mean, that's the noise he made.
Is that in the creature codex?
Yeah, Clockwork Giraffe.
Steam-powered giraffe. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It
was
is.
kind of electro swing. Yeah. Anyway, it makes that horrible noise that Jenna hates, and rears up and slams its front hooves on the ground and dashes off in a southwesterly direction. And just as that sinks into your brain and begins to give you cause for alarm, the trees burst open. The trees it was grazing on are shoved aside as a 25-foot tall, ugly, bald man bursts through the trees. It is wearing this loincloth crafted from zebra hide. It has this sort of pasty, pale, sunburned complexion. It's got this big lump on its head.
Worst, ugly, pasty, animal-killing white man you could imagine, but he's also 25 feet tall.
And he actually, this giant, has a gigantic, the pelt of a proportionally sized lion slung over his shoulder, and he's carrying this big club. It's a tree trunk that has been whittled into a point at one end, and he's just dragging it along behind him, and he shouts this horrible guttural cry at the giraffe. Arrgh!
Hey, quick question. How many eyes does he have?
How many eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good question. Make a perception check.
Oh my god.
He's still like half a mile away from you, even if he is 30 feet tall.
I rolled a 1. It's your fault.
Mara's got a spyglass.
Yeah, I'll look through my spyglass at this ugly, ugly boy. That is a 13.
He has 2 eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, not a cyclops.
Okay.
And he sort of gives this dismayed shout towards the fleeing giraffe, and then goes, and turns around, looks at the tree the giraffe was eating at, plods towards it, grabs a hunk of leaves, stuffs it in his mouth, and just sort of waddles back towards the trees, crunching through the overgrowth.
Mara looks at ZEPHYR and ASTRID is like, well, I have been wanting to try out my new axe.
We're sure that's not just part of the ecosystem here? They don't just live here?
I don't know that much about the savannah, but as far as I know, the giants are monsters.
Anything about
invaded.
giants in the book? Are they part of the life cycle?
That's an interesting question. Make a general intelligence check to flip through the book. Make an investigation check to flip through the book.
Can
Can I make
make
a
a history
nature
check?
check?
Sure. Investigation, history, nature. Those are the ones you wanted.
13.
13. Okay.
I just want to see if giants are native to Auredane.
Sure.
10.
And?
7.
So ZEPHYR got the best.
I keep rolling like crap today.
And the book has a hastily scribbled note in the corner of one page about lions, saying, since this is a sort of a nature-focused guide, it mentions lions briefly, saying, watch out for these deadly pack carnivores. But there's a note saying there, oh, and watch out for the really huge ones, too. And that's all. That's the only thing about giant creatures you can see in that book.
I like whoever had this book before. I didn't realize it was used. But, you know.
The
What can you
additions
do?
have only been useful so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
But other than that, Mara, so we were talking about legends of giant creatures in the Valashi Desert before. Legends of giant humanoids have existed as far back as your civilization has, perhaps even to ancient Valashi times. So it sounds like if legends are true, giant humanoids could exist, but again, that's just myth.
But I don't know if they were banished and then came back. Or, yeah.
Torun might know.
In any case, shall we go after it?
We did try to get that poor giraffe.
I mean, I think if we've determined that they're not natural here, then it's probably the right course to fight it. Astrid casts Mage Armor and flicks the reins.
I wanna get a quick description of Astrid's magical girl transformation sequence because I don't think we've done that on camera yet.
It has no. We did it in one of the
One of the
early
pre-episodes,
games,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah. So on a horse too.
Yeah. On a beautiful white horse with mane and tail streaming as you ride across the savannah.
Because it's like 3 actions worth of spellcasting too, right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
So it basically she casts Mage Armor and Thaumaturgy at the same time and summons her magic rapier, which by the way is called the Swan Blade. It has like a guard spread wings.
Cool.
And I guess it'd be angel wings, not bird wings, like I was always thinking. But
I mean, bird wings are fine.
yeah,
Swans are assholes, but they look kind of angelic.
they're very pretty. Mostly Swan Blade just sounds cool. So yeah, she casts Mage Armor, and her ethereal, glimmering armor appears sort of shimmering in and out of view over her clothes. And she casts Thaumaturgy to summon a shower of sparks and flower petals, and summons her sword, which she does by throwing it into the air. She throws her wand into the air, and it spirals up and sort of kind of collects light, and it coalesces into a blade as she catches it.
Cool. And you all ride off towards the forest. This giant has wide strides and has a half-mile lead on you, but your horses are swift, and the savannah is clear, and you ride towards the forest's edge.
Hey, what's
ready.
the running speed of a horse?
These riding horses are 60 feet. And you ride towards the forest's edge, ready, raring for a fight. And that's where we're going to end for today. I love when I get to start a session with roll initiative.
Ah!
Yeah,
It's a
I
good
have
thing that
this.
wasn't a good one.
I have this vision of the start of the battle. It's like the horses aren't war horses. Astrid does not want to bring it too close to that giant.
Right.
So what she's gonna do if she doesn't really fail an acrobatics check, she wants to stand on the back of the horse and then leap off of it, using its momentum, and then activate her boots.
Oh, that's
Oh,
really
cool.
cool.
It's gonna be really awesome.
Yeah. That was a fun episode. I hope it wasn't
Yeah.
too, slow and
Yeah.
role play and whatever, but I had fun with that game.
Yeah, I feel like
It's good character stuff.
yeah.
I feel a little
I had
bad
fun.
we didn't have a fight or whatever, but it was fun. I had fun.
Yeah, that's okay.
We
Yeah.
covered some very important stuff, like horses and cats
And mushrooms a little bit.
and mushrooms.
Bookstores and baths.
Those are all very important. And I know that might sound like sarcasm, especially with my facial expression, but it's not.
All right.
I have to decide what I'm going to name my horse.
That was a fun episode. We'll see you next week. Later.